Hello everyone, my name is Dean the Artist. Welcome to what might just be the final episode of Katawa Shoujo. Honestly, I don't think I'm ready for this. But anyways, let's take a look at the extras, shall we? So, I have all of the music unlocked. We've seen all the music. Gallery? Yeah, apparently Akira is here for some reason. Even though that was a Lilly's route image, but either way. So yeah. 4 images left. I'm guessing all of these are for the good route. Yeah. Let's check here. Yeah, what I imagine is that there is a good chunk of things we still need to see for the good route, but other than that, we're... Did we get all of these? Huh. Okay. Let's look at the cinema first. Yep, all 6 of these. We had these since the start of the route. Act 1. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Emmy. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Hanako. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Shizune. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Rin. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Lilly. So, 4 scenes left. Well, I'm going to load it back up. Was it a brief history of time or the day after? I think it was a brief history of time. I'm gonna make sure that I'm on the right thing. So, yep. Yep, this is the scene. So, let's tell the truth. It was just kind of... I was thinking about how you seem to have everything so sorted out, even with Hanako relying on you. I can admit that even I kind of relied on you when I first transferred in. I think it's a good quality to have. I turned to Lilly, surveying her reaction. She's forcing herself to look forward and furrowing her brow quite a bit. Her face looks a bit awkward, as if she was trying to find just the right words. Lilly? I would thank you, but assuming that I don't rely on the presence of others is too much. You'd be wrong to think that Hanako simply depends on me with nothing in return. She seems to have a bit of trouble saying it, even though it's largely what I'd thought already. If she's tried so hard to maintain her independence as anyone would have had to, in her position, sided or not, maybe she finds it hard to talk about her own needs. It's only now that I realize an omission in what she says, though. I decide to follow it up, largely in jest, to avoid things getting too personal. Oh, and what about me? She suddenly runs ahead of me and turns, blocking me off. With a smile, she holds her hands behind her as she leans forwards. You're different. And with that, she turns back and continues to walk ahead of me, a newfound spring in her step. All I can do is raise an eyebrow and give a dazed grin. I don't think I've ever seen this playful and teasing side of her before. I'm so different, it's hard to work out the exact context, but knowing her, this ambiguity was intended. Our relationship has been changing, at the very least simply because I've begun to stand on my own feet more and started getting more curious about the situation of those around me. As to why, probably a mix of personal curiosity and a want to try to work out how to deal with my situation. I'm less sure of Lilly, though. That's why her own statement, so similar to my own feelings towards her, throws me off so much. Watching her make her way up the street, cane tapping from left to right, I decide to settle the matter later and just smile. This is a nice side to her, and I don't want to forget it. Alright. Alright. We're just gonna skip, and all of this is gonna be largely the same until I think we reach the part of the good ending. So, ignore his insane ramblings. I dig into my food, hoping he'll take the hint for my silence. I just lost 1,000 yen, man! 1,000 yen! Damn, this is the worst day ever! No such luck. You're kidding me. You made a bet about her nationality. Did I already read this? Hi, ask about Hanako. This may be a rather fortuitous meeting. Hey, excuse me. Do you know if Do you know if Hanako's come out of her room today or not? She doesn't seem to be answering. Ikazawa is Ikazawa. Her not answering the door is totally normal. That tall foreign girl's the only person she'll ever talk to after all. She gives a shrug before walking off down the hallway, having much more important matters to attend to than Hanako or me. Her dismissive attitude annoys me, yeah. Hanako must have a reputation of a hermit, a reputation that doesn't seem outright undeserved, at least in the time before we'd met. Alright. Again, a lot of this is going to be largely the same, but I'm doing this not only to get all of the choices done, but yeah, to actually get the good ending. Let's address it. Come on, you worry about me more than I do at times. It just means I have to sleep a bit longer, that's all. But still. Oh no. Hold on. Wah wah wah. Wah wah wah. But still. I'd say that I look absolutely fine, but I guess that wouldn't have a lot of meaning for you. She gives a sigh of consternation before trailing off with an amused chuckle, giving up the point. If you say so, please do take care of yourself, Azao. Go on, Hanako could use some help. She moves to protest, but reluctantly acquiesces and disappears into the kitchen, her hand running along the smooth white walls as she slowly walks. For a while, I sit and watch television in an attempt to wake myself a bit more. Yeah, okay. Skip that. Skip that. Skip that. Oh no, I'm falling over and dying. Oh no. Oh, we're hugging now. Oh no. Oh, the H scene. Oh no. The shrimp. Alright, let's talk about Hanako. I wouldn't worry. Hanako's been gaining confidence thanks to you, at least for as long as I've known you two. She gives a self-deprecating sigh. I think I merely provided her with company and support. Since she came to know you, she's opened up much more, even to me. I get the feeling she's understating her influence on Hanako, especially given that before the two came to know each other, Hanako had no friends to speak of. The friends I'd had in my previous school fulfilled what I've expected of them, for the most part simply being there for idle chatter, but Hanako and Lilly, there really feels to be more to their relationship. A part of me envies it, but another can't ignore the fact that the school year will eventually end. After graduation, I really have no idea what Hanako will do. This trip has shown me just how much we've all come to depend on one another. Indeed, we're all going to have to make decisions. Maybe that's the reason why, despite a return to school also heralding a return to the normalcy of everyday life, I can't help feeling a little restless. On the bright side, it wouldn't take long for the summer holidays to arrive after our exams are finished. We could come back here during the summer holidays if you want. Yep, okay. We know why, Hazao. Huaso. Alright, let's mention the letter. Bundle of choices. See every choice in the game. Okay, that was the achievement that I was worried that I wasn't gonna get, and that I have to go back on each of them, but it's a good thing I got it. So, the memory of that single letter Iwanako sent me comes back to my mind. I never saw her again, but after I was sent to Yamaku, she wrote me one letter. Lily's face shows an expression I know well. I've piqued her interest. I'd be slightly offended that it's simply a matter of curiosity for her, but she's never been very good at masking her reactions. In hindsight, it didn't really say much. What was just going on in my old class, how she was faring, and almost as an afterthought, that it was probably best for the both of us that we didn't see each other again. After reading it, I ended up reassessing a lot of things I thought I managed to work out. For the most part, that letter reminded me that the world around me was still moving, and just how much I'd become isolated from it. And I guess it also reminded me of what I'd lost. She gives the information some thought before her face lights up in realization. No doubt she's worked out that it was the letter which had contributed to my angst during that lunch on the rooftop. It's a rare sight to see Lilly quite so lost for words. Her entire persona is a little deflated from her earlier rapt interest. As charismatic as she is, in the end, that isn't any replacement for life nor relationship experience. Perhaps it is better she sent it than not. How's that? It can be difficult to work out how best to communicate with those you haven't met in a long time, all the more so considering your separate situations. Instead of doing what was easiest, she built up the courage to talk to you one last time, not only for her sake, but from how it sounds for yours as well. Maybe. I don't hate her for it. Not that I really ever did, but I don't know. Probably a more non-committal answer than I should give, but it isn't without cause. I've never looked at the situation from Iwanako's perspective like that before. Seconds pass in silence before Lilly speaks again. Moving to Yamaku must be hard for you, having your friends and even your girlfriend. Yeah, okay. Excuse me if I sound a little different. My throat is pretty dry. I mean, I was intending to record earlier. However, what happened is, yeah, I was intending to record earlier, but, I got stuck having to do this at the very end of the day. So, yeah. What the... Oh, okay, it's... Okay, I'm guessing the normal ending just ends in the true ending. Okay, I guess that makes sense. Okay, so the normal ending is a... The neutral ending is a, It's like a cut down version of the rest of it. I guess that makes sense. The snap from my mobile's phone closing contrast... The snap of my mobile phone closing contrasts with the ambient clatter and noise audible even in the hallway outside the library. It's the first day of the summer holidays, a time that had perpetually seemed so far away, and yet it's now not only here, but also made painfully obvious by the students, or lack thereof, left in the school. Most students have returned home to spend the holidays with relatives by now. The few that are left are mostly chatting between themselves about what they intend to do in the coming weeks. It makes me feel like the odd one out, taking advantage of the school library being open for the first several days of the holidays. Ostensibly, it's for students to drop off any books they've borrowed and have yet to return, and for those who have their parents pick them up, to help pass the time until they get whisked away. Thanks to the recent lengthy phone call from my parents, which had so rudely awoken me from my sleeping on a beanbag in the back of the library, I'm now in the latter category. Sliding my phone back into my pocket, this time remembering to set it to silent, I go back into the quiet and wholly placid room. It's a nostalgic sight, Just when Lily first led me to the library, the orange tint of sunset bathes the room in its light, while Hanako sits on a beanbag silently reading and Yuko fusses, just barely visible behind the counter. Hanako especially has been noticeably more quiet than usual since yesterday's happenings, but I can't really blame her. It wasn't just me that depended on that person after all. I quietly walked to the beanbag near her where I'd sat before, being doubly careful to not make any unnecessary noise. The soft puff it gives as the bag takes my weight makes Hanako's eyes flick towards me, but only for a second. I get the feeling that Hanako has been quiet only partly out of sadness following Lily's departure. Rather, it seems more thoughtful and measured than I'd expected, perhaps due to her desire of working out how to deal with Lily's leaving rather than just being depressed over it. It makes me a little proud of her. Hey, Hanako? Yeah? Still going ahead with your idea of traveling? She gives a determined nod. I'll be starting in a day or two. Naomi decided to come with me too. Wow, quick start. Where are you two headed to first? I think we're going to start by going north, then loop down and go southward. So Hokkaido's going to be first? She gives another nod, more tentative than the last. The significance of that place is not lost on either of us. Yeah. Do you know how you're going to handle the traveling expenses and accommodations? Yeah, I've worked everything out. I think it should be okay. Naomi says she has her side worked out too. You know, if you need anything, you can just call, right? I gave you my number before. Any time of the day is fine. She gives a smile, which in itself feels like a small personal victory. I know. Thanks, Hizao. Maybe Lily was right. Although I may offer Hanako any help I could possibly give, I feel as if I know she doesn't need it. She really has grown. Hanako's plans for her holidays are in sharp contrast to my simple following of my parents' suggestion to stay with them. Holidays had always made me feel less excited than most, though. Maybe this is just a return to the status quo. Before my heart attack, I'd always lived so aimlessly that holidays weren't all much different from my everyday life anyway. After school, I'd wander around a bit in the city, often hanging out with some friends, before making my way home to eat dinner with usually one of my parents, but rarely both. Their work schedules didn't leave much time for them to be home, and going there straight from school would have just meant I'd end up feeling bored. I was an urbanite through and through. Since coming to Yamaku, though, it seems like I've fundamentally changed as a person. The phone call with my parents erased any traces of doubt I might have held on that in any case. While before I had exercised a fairly normal level of independence for a teenager, that being not a whole lot, my parents were more than pleased to hear of my newfound ability in taking care of myself. Laundry, cooking for myself, cleaning, in addition to other general chores that come from living without parents around, just little menial things I've had to pick up with relative ease. When I think about it, I'd always depended on them. Even if they hadn't been at home all the time, to say I never depended on anyone after moving to the Yamaku dormitories would be far from the truth, though. Excuse me? The two of us look up at the awkwardly fidgeting figure in front of us. Some things never change. It's getting close to closing time, so, Oh right, I'd forgotten that the library closes earlier during the holidays. Hanako and I both get up and dust ourselves off, placing our books back on the shelf behind us. The fact that our tastes in reading material have a far amount of overlap is useful at times. With a bow to Yuko, to apologize for taking so much time, Hanako takes her leave of us. See you tomorrow, Hizao. Bye. And with that, she walks out of the large wooden aging doors that herald the entrance to the library. She's a quiet person, isn't she? I suppose I should be surprised at a staff member sharing personal opinions like this, but after knowing Yuko for a while, it's largely expected. Our relationship is more personal rather than one with her acting as an authority figure. Yeah, I think that's just how she is. She's got a lot more confidence in herself these days, though. I don't know her as well as you do, but I think I agree. It's nice to hear her talking to people here. She's never used to do that before. Hey, Yuko. You know about Lily's leaving, right? She told me herself a few days ago. It must be hard leaving everyone behind like she is. She quickly looks back to me after she says this, probably remembering that I went to her for advice on the relationship between Lily and me before. Are you going to be okay? That's a difficult question. It's something I'd rather not think about for now, though, given more pressing issues. Something seems kind of off about this whole deal, don't you think? Yuko appears to think for a while, absent-mindedly scrunching her face up in a variety of creative ways as she does so. I don't think I really know her well enough to make that kind of judgment. I'm sorry I can't be of more help. Nah, that's fine. I'm just sort of thinking aloud. I give a deep sigh and scratch my head in frustration. There's just so much stuff happening at once that I have no control over. It feels like I'm being swamped. I think everyone goes through times like that. What's important is to concentrate on what you can do, rather than what you can't do. At least, that's how I see it. If I didn't think like that, I don't think I'd be able to manage my life as it is. She says it with a smile and a light tone, but her words are far from any kind of joke. Being pulled between two jobs as she is, just to hopefully make enough money not only to live, but also for university, must be exhausting. Perhaps that's why. Coming from her, this feels like it has more meaning than if it had come from most others. I guess you got a point there. Thank you for your advice once again, Yuko. She bows deeply and smiles again before making her way back to the counter where she spends so much of her time. The tiny wings of the cardboard crane in my fingers are only just visible in the dim light of my room. Just a little of the moonlight being able to peek through the curtains around their edges. I lie still in my dark bed for a long time, idly looking up at the little origami bird. It feels like a lot's happened since Lily folded this, but at the same time, it feels very little has changed. Compared to everyone else, I'm back to square one. I might have a newfound idea of where I want to go in life, but that's hardly something that affects me now. Hanako changed, I know that much. If anything, she just makes me feel like I've got no excuse to be like this, considering her previous situation. Lily, though. I turn the bird in my fingers another way, looking at it from yet another angle. When I first met her, she seemed aloof and perhaps somewhat distant. Her actions were always careful, measured, and precise, and her carefully maintained composure always gave the appearance of unerring confidence and serenity. In time, she became less formal, just a bit, but enough. It felt good to see her lowering her inhibitions around me and opening up, even just a little, of her own accord. It felt as if I was seeing her real self slowly become more vibrant and visible. Now, though, I'm beginning to have doubts. Perhaps they're to be expected after what is, effectively, the two of us breaking up. They don't feel new or strange, though, but rather like an old book being found and dusted off. I soon realized after meeting Lily that she saw me as she did Hanako, as someone who needed help and care. At first, I simply thought that we'd be fine as friends helping each other through our limited time together in school, but then I began to treasure our moments together more and more. From our quiet walks to our talking over lunch, the good sides of her personality became ever more obvious and ever more likable. The absence caused by Lily's trip to Scotland to visit her long-distance family and sick aunt only made me realize how much I liked being around her, and I had thought that she felt in a similar way. For her, though, maybe that wasn't everything to our relationship. Even after she returned to Japan, that just meant she lost her family once again after meeting them for such a long time. For such a brief time. She lived so much of her life without her family around, not to mention with Akira working long hours, that she had little choice but to be like that. I had thought her sense of independence to be a good and admirable trait. It was in stark difference to my reliance on my parents before my heart attack, as reluctant as I may have been to admit it. However, it also meant that she never let people get close to her. She lost her family likely due to her blindness, went to a different school from anybody she knew because of it, and worked all the harder to make sure she didn't end up a burden on her sister and those around her. And now, Akira's going to Inverness, just like the family she thought she'd lost. She never told me of her plans, as conflicted as she was about them. Lilly didn't want to be a burden on anyone, including me. I'm an idiot. I never questioned it. I never tried to be there or ask what she needed me to. I just set my life up and expected it to stay that way forever, with the two of us having a nice long relationship where we push towards our future together. A small pit of frustration and anger at myself wells up in my chest. I just let everything happen, never even trying to help Lilly. Just her being there was enough. I thought I could keep going on if that were true, but that could never have been enough. It was a childlike dependence on somebody without any attempt to understand or help their situation. Thanks to that, I lost Lilly. I lost the one person I loved most because I wasn't there for her when she needed me. With an increasingly angry feeling washing over me, I turn over and set the crane back on the desk next to my clock. The place where it had lived since that day when she folded it for me. Since that day when herself said that my burdens needed to be my own. The obnoxious bright red numerals of my alarm clock shine through the darkness of the room onto my tired eyes. 10 o'clock. Evening. Curfew will be soon. I wonder. Akira mentioned they'd be leaving this evening. I have no idea exactly when their flight is, but that means there's a chance, however small, that they may not have already left. Adrenaline starts to move through my body as I sit up on my bed, my eyes suddenly wide with possibility. There's no guarantee they haven't left. Indeed, it's likely that they already have, but there's also a chance they haven't, however small it may be. Just this once, just as I should have before. I stand up and rush over to my cabinet, throwing out some clothes as fast as I can and sliding them on in quick succession. Blah, blah, blah. Each second that goes by is a second that I can't regain, a second that may mean the difference between catching them and losing them forever. Even if I fail, I have to try. I can't let her leave everything behind without even trying to stop her, without, just as once, being there for her. With the last of my clothes slipped on, I hastily grab the phone off the desk. Luckily, the number for a local taxi company is still in my call history. A gruff, unenthusiastic voice announces the name of the company while I pace around the room. It takes some effort to slow down my voice and keep it clear over the phone. The chilly night air sweeps against me as I open the dormitory door, but nevertheless, I keep up my brisk speed as I half jog, half run out to the school gates. It may not be curfew just yet, but it's precariously close. If there were a guard around, they'd no doubt have some questions for me, but it looks like I've managed to come out just before they arrive, or they're around the corner. My pace picks up as I make my way through the school gardens, their nighttime allure all but lost when I begin to run to the school gate. The lamps of the courtyard, dim as they are, provide just enough illumination to light the way and prevent me from tipping over. The buildings themselves take on a rustic, almost antique-looking edge when I glance at them. Looking back, it seems strange that they once appeared so dark and looming to me. Now they just look to be somewhat anachronistic school buildings, the same as any others bar their age. Leaving the gates behind me, I pull up to a stop just before the taxi, parked just as Akira's car had been. Its gaudy and brightly lit sign looks out of place in the quiet country backdrop. I impatiently squeeze myself through the door, giving the driver the address for where the two should hopefully be staying. By the time the taxi pulls up after its trip, at maddeningly casual speed, it's well and truly deep into the night. The house is truly enormous, its sheer size much larger than I'd expected, and ominously still. Fearing the worst, I ask the driver to stay just in case my efforts are for naught. A single press on the fancy intercom system outside the gate produces a short electronic melody in the otherwise silent road. It's not long before a somewhat deep, gruff voice can be heard from it. "This is the Hakamichi residence. Please state your name and why you're bothering us this late." I press on, despite inwardly wincing at the reasonable annoyance audible in his voice. "It's Hizao Nakai. I was hoping to meet Lilly or Akira if they're still here." Surprisingly, I managed to summon quite some energy to my voice, enough to make the other side of the intercom silent. For a few seconds pass, but just before I press the button again and ask what's going on, a light turns on outside the front door. I strain my eyes to try to make out who's coming through, but as he comes past a large car parked with fishing rods sticking out of the back, his identity becomes clear. His face is typically placid and motionless as he saunters up to the gate. He's still childlike in his mannerisms despite his demeanor. With the press of a few buttons from behind the fence, the gate slowly opens. Hey Zhao, what are you doing here? I mean, we only met once in this timeline, but I think this is the most emotion I've ever heard from his voice. Not that it would be hard to reach that mark. Akira told me that she and Lilly would be staying here before they left for their flight. I need to talk to Lilly, just one last time. Are they still here? The look on his face says everything. I failed, I was too late. The one time when I actually needed to act quickly and... Actually, it's possible. What is it? He's a bit taken aback by my fervor, but I can't help it at this point. They left not long ago, only a few minutes before you arrived. If you go straight to the airport, you might be able to... Hazao? I dart back towards the waiting taxi, grabbing what little money is left in my pocket as I go. Thanks, Hideki. With that, I take a seat, and in short order bark out my destination. My chest beats wildly as I tear down the street, my body twisting this way and that to slip between the pedestrians walking back and forth beside me. With the roads solidly blocked by taxis and other cars dropping off passengers and picking up others, and the time they have to wait, we ended up having to stop almost a block away. But that's in the past now. What matters is reaching Lilly. One foot hits the ground, the other quickly following without the slightest thought, as if my legs have taken on a life of their own, and all my mind can do is concentrate on the view ahead of me. There's one glimpse of that long hair of hers, that long yellow hair that is the same color as the wheat that stretched as far as the eye could see. In the end, I depended on Lilly, just like Hanako did, even after we started going out. It still doesn't feel like she ever let herself depend on me. Except for one moment. That moment where we held each other tightly on that bright yellow field. At that time, she must have feared losing me just as she did everyone else. That's why, just this once, the night air wraps around me, draining every last remnant of warmth out of my body, to the extent that it feels more like midwinter than a summer night. My fingers, my hands, my feet, they all feel increasingly cold. The sound of the passing crowds is reduced to no more than a background hum, while the sound of my shoes hitting the pavement echoes loudly, every step surging towards the person I have to catch. Forced by my chest tightening in response to the cold of the night, I rest an arm over it, to try and settle it down. When the airport comes into view, though, I realize that this feeling as one I felt before. Not now. Of all the times for this, please not now. I take a gulp and shoulder on regardless, pushing my body as far as it will go. Sweat pours off of me as I hurtle forward, my shoulder hitting someone's side and my mind suddenly flooding with emotions and memories. I continue on without an apology. I have to keep moving now. If I stop, I'm not sure I could begin again, and even if I could, it would be all for naught. If I'm not in time. I hit another person, then another, offering little resistance to the getting bounced about. My feet feel numb, my arms are losing all feeling, my chest forces me to hunch over awkwardly, tightening ever more. That afternoon in the snow, that time when my life irreversibly changed, the images of Iwanako and that damned letter flash over and over in my mind, the first love I'd lost thanks to my condition. I can't let that happen again. I don't care what happens to me anymore, I just need to see her one last time. There. A silver of yellow and white comes into view. Some distance down the road, her figure silhouetted by the lights emanating from the airport entrance. Lilly! Lilly! Lilly, stop, please, Lilly! Come on, Lilly, I know your hearing's far beyond Gah! My view suddenly spins out of control and ends up on the ground, my body haphazardly sprawled after hitting someone and stumbling over. Before I can assess the damage, an unbelievable pain ignites in my body. All my thoughts are blanked as I curl up and frantically clutch at my chest. Hey, are you okay? That was a really bad fall. This pain, I can't. Any sharp knock could do me in, any overexertion. I thought I could overcome my limits this once. Something's wrong with him. What's the matter, The voices of those gathering around me are gradually replaced by by a loud ringing in my ears. By now, I'm unable to move my head, and my eyes turn upwards to see the mute moving of their lips. Even as I clutch my chest, I realize that I can't feel my fingers anymore, nor my feet. It feels like my entire body is shutting down, starting from my extremities. With one last effort, I turn my head down the road towards the airport entrance that's casting its light over me. Lilly is there behind the crowd. Her head is tilted, but only just slightly. I can feel my vision dimming as I try to yell out, but nothing emerges from my mouth despite my best efforts. Slowly but surely, my vision begins to black out the scene before me. So this is how it ends. I failed. I was so close. So very close. But at the very last moment, my condition seized my chance at a new life and dragged me back. Now I'm going to die, sprawled out just meters from an airport, with a crowd of babbling people surrounding me, and with Lilly leaving for Scotland just a little distance ahead. Lilly? That last word extinguishes the last of my energy. The world falls into a deep, unescapable blackness as every muscle in my body shuts down. I'm sorry, Lilly. I was too late. Where are we now? Okay. I think this might be one of the last backgrounds we're gonna get. What's going on? As I slowly open my eyes, a bright white light assaults my retinas. For minutes, I just lay where I am, mindlessly staring ahead while my scattered thoughts coalesce in my slowly waking mind. Slowly but surely, the white begins to come into focus as a bare expanse begins to be drawn across my field of vision. It's only when the light fixture comes into view that my mind clicks that this is the ceiling above me. Slowly levering myself up, I silently absorb through all my senses the details of the room I'm in. Alright, so I was wondering when the hospital visit would come in, because that's one of the things I do remember about Lily's route that I didn't see yet. So yeah, anyways. The smell and taste of strong bleach hang in the air, lending the impression of a place just slightly too clean to be natural. Inoffensive, pale peach colored walls, all perfectly painted without a crack, stain, or imperfection. A single framed painting hangs on the wall, perfectly straightened. Like the walls, it's as boring and inoffensive as can be. My attention's grabbed by the translucent curtain waving across my vision, my eyes following it to the open window it covers. When I move my right arm to try to lift myself up and look through it, I feel the I feel the catheter dig in uncomfortably. It's only now, too, that I notice the cannula tubes winding around my cheeks and into my nose. After some fidgeting, I settle for just looking around the corner of the window. Beyond the thick leaves of several large trees, I can see the greenery below, backing out into a field, a customary island of green on the outskirts of the city. Judging by the sun outside, it's noon. Of which day, though, I'm not sure. So I'm in a hospital once again. I let out a long, tired breath as I try to collect my scattered thoughts, my mind seemingly cast in a dozen directions all at once, with as many emotions running through me. After slowly lying back down, I decide to start at the beginning, why I'm here. I cast my mind back, but I can't work out a smooth recollection of what just happened. The events of last night, or whichever night it was, come back more as a series of snapshots than any cohesive memory. Lying on my bed looking at the origami bird, talking to a Deki outside the Hakamishi residence, running down the street, passing pedestrians and bumping into more and more of them, falling, looking up at the searingly bright airport entrance, seeing Lily's back as it lay on the ground. The silence of the private room suddenly feels overwhelming. So that's it. I've had my chance to correct my mistake and I blew it. Whether I was fault I was at fault for neglecting my medication and disregarding to pace myself, or my body was for giving out so soon. It doesn't matter now. All that matters is that, once again, I'm alone. The pastel blue pillow yields with little resistance as I let myself fall back onto the bed. Its starchy case, along with the starchy sheets, providing little comfort. Compared to the darkness of last night's events, the bright light of this room around me is striking. All it does, though, is emphasize how otherworldly places like this are. Arrhythmia. A strange word, a foreign alien one that you don't want to be in the same room with. A rare condition. It causes the heart to act erratically and occasionally beat way too fast. It can be fatal. It was a miracle that you were able to go on so long without anything happening, they said. And then it did. My condition had taken away everything. My old school was of no importance anymore. My home was reduced to a faraway place. Both my friends and first love simply stopped visiting after a length of time. I became a cynical and embittered, distant and subdued. In my defense, no person could avoid that after such a thing happening to them. But nonetheless, I left the hospital as a very definitely changed person. Things changed. I made new friends in Hanako, Shizune, and Misha. I found a new sense of home in my dormitory, a new interest in science and the world around me. I found a direction to my life that I had never felt before. But I'd also discovered other things. The sense of isolation in Yamaku and its surrounds was not entirely unwelcome. The quiet giving a peace of mind I might not have found elsewhere, but it gave the area a feeling of being pushed out of the way or being kept out of sight. People in the streets would sometimes glance awkwardly or quickly turn their heads as they realized they were staring. Even if my condition wasn't visible, my uniform was. Even if it weren't, I was still different. I took 17 pills a day, morning, midday, and night. My scar, though hidden behind clothing, was still a permanent mark of my condition, and most of all, there was the very real possibility of death. A bad fall, an absent-minded hard hit on the back, a simple sprint taking too far, anything could have set my heart off, and several times I teetered on the edge of the abyss, even with all the care I took of myself. But that was fine. I could have lived with all that. Because there was one final thing I'd found, or rather refound after entering Yamaku, which was once again snatched away before my eyes. It's only now that I realize just how delicate my newfound sense of happiness was. Everything depended on her, the linchpin of my life since I first entered Yamaku as a sullen, confused, and aimless transfer student. Lilly Sato was the one person I could depend on above all others, and who reciprocated the love that I felt for her. But I failed her, and only realized it all too late. I thought I could just set my life up and continue that way forever, but the real world doesn't work like that. I finally realized the meaning of those words, only to be struck down as I confronted my failure to do so in time. The surroundings I'm in are all too familiar. It's as if Yamaku was but a dream and I'm still recovering from my first major heart attack. Maybe that's why I feel so tired. It feels almost as I've lived the last few months of my life in a space of minutes. The weight of my eyelids closes my eyes, my physical and mental exhaustion letting me offer no resistance. Unintelligible mumbling from ahead of the bed stirs me out of my sleep. With my eyes still closed, I focus and make out someone, presumably a nurse bidding farewell to a doctor. As I open my eyes, I notice the door closing in my peripheral vision. The doctor stands reading some notes off a clipboard held in his hands, carefully looking over the pages. After consulting his obviously very important documents, he looks up and notices my gaze. It's now that I notice something slightly odd about his expression and general disposition, but I can't quite put my finger on it. "Ah, I see you're awake, Mr. Nakai." His quick glance to my bed His quick glance to my bed end to verify my name shows that his documents obviously didn't have it written on them. "I must admit that this is a bit unfortunate. Your parents visited just earlier while you were asleep. I could notify them you're awake now if you'd like." Thanks. That would be good." I give a somewhat dazed reply, most likely the one he'd expect before really thinking about what I'm saying. "Not a problem. If you have any questions you'd like to ask, I'll be happy to answer them. That is, unless you prefer to rest. And anesthetic's is still gonna be affecting you a bit, I'm afraid. The anesthetic, of course. That'd be why it felt so strange the first time I woke up. I slowly shake my head, not wanting to dislodge any pipes or cause myself any more discomfort than necessary. The doctor politely pulls down his clipboard in response. I guess my main question is, what exactly happened? To put it simply, you've unfortunately had another heart attack. While not as severe as your first, you were very lucky it occurred so close to a hospital. After being stabilized, you were taken to the operating room. What followed was keyhole surgery in order to insert a temporary pacemaker. All in all, the incident happened 2 days ago, with emergency treatment being carried out very soon afterward. Since then, we've kept you under close observation while you were asleep. Will I be alright? Are there any lasting problems? Compared to the procedure carried out for your first heart attack, this was relatively minor. While you will have to undergo surgery once more in a few days' time to remove the pacemaker, assuming that there are no complications, there should be no lasting implications. He continues talking, the subject shifting to a repetition of facts about arrhythmia and my medications that I already know for the most part. I start to nod in faint interest while my mind drifts. I begin to think about how perfectly hung the unoffensive painting hanging on the wall behind his shoulder is, and how neat and sterile the surroundings are, even including the doctor himself. Well, yeah, they kind of have to be. But if my mumbling bores you, you're quite welcome to say so, Mr. Nakai. Lord knows I lose track of myself sometimes. He gives a short chuckle at his self-deprecating joke, as I glance awkwardly, having been rather badly caught out. Come on, he's trying to add some levity to the situation, man. I know. Yeah, even though it may not be the time. I don't think he can fault someone for like trying to make a joke, especially of himself, to try to improve a situation. Like, whatever. The doctor's chuckle sounds different from that of the nurse at Yamaku, though. Come to think of it, as I ponder why, I realize why the man in front of me feels that little bit off. His smile is neat and sterile. He delivers his little joke perfectly with a customary, inoffensive chuckle. It is like, rather than talking to the man whose name is neatly printed on the name tag, on the name tag pinned to his lab coat, I'm merely interacting with an actor reading off a pre-rehearsed script, every action having been choreographed beforehand. Well, yeah, in the medical field, you have to have a sense of professionalism, like, like, even as I don't work in the medical field, I've still been trained in CBR and still been trained in a first aid, and I can tell you that in certain situations, regardless of how you feel about it, you have to act professionally. Yeah, sure, it is inhuman, but it's completely understandable. And I get your frustration, Hazal, but like you can't fault a you can't fault a doctor or a nurse or anyone like trained in that type of stuff for not being a professional. Anyways, whatever. I suppose he has to be this way though, being a doctor. Yeah, I was just on that. He has to keep his neat and sterile smile when chatting to the girl with cancer slowly spreading throughout her body, when reassuring the woman who will surely die from childbirth, and every other terminally and critically ill patient. That little bit of distance, that little bit of aloofness, it makes me wonder if I've been too harsh, especially considering it's a disposition far from being adopted only by people in his profession. After all, the one I loved kept the same distance from others herself. Looking up to the doctor again, I realize I've been in thought with my head bowed for some time. I understand you still must be tired. You've been through a lot, and as I mentioned before, the anesthetic would still be affecting you. If you don't mind, I'll let you get some rest and tell your parents you've woken up for you. I think that would be good. Thank you. He gives a curt nod before picking up his clipboard and making his way to the large white door in the corner of the room, closing it behind him with a thud. In the end, I'm alone again. Lily's gone, Akira's gone, Hanako would be traveling, and even my parents have already left the hospital. 4 pale peach walls, 1 white ceiling, and a single open window to look out towards the world outside. It's hard to think of of the future when the past is crowded around you, claustrophobic in its neat, sterile, starching, bleach-smelling grip. Lost for what to do or focused on, I content myself with sleeping the same way as if I were just another dream like Yamaku had been. White. A sterile, clean white for a sterile, clean room. My eyes open, and I simply stare at the ceiling for some time. It's about as interesting as the television would be, mounted in its metal rack hanging off the ceiling ahead of the bed. The music box. Indeed, the television saw its entire use during the time my parents were here, left on quietly as they waited for me to wake. It was about as banal as it had been the first time I'd ended up in the hospital. Earlier today, an attending nurse had offered to turn off the EKG speakers. I refused simply because the sound was so entirely normal to me now. It's almost comforting in a way. The metronome-like singularity gives at least some feeling that time is moving, and even in a place such as this. After some time of listening to its beeping while I fully awakened, though, I realize there's another sound in the room. Concentrating all my efforts on listening, a task made rather easy by the lack of distractions, a tiny, tinny melody can be heard. Light and quiet, the music sounds almost fragile as if dwarfed by the EKG's pulses. Tilting my head just slightly to the side in an effort to see the source of the melody without dislodging any of the sensors and pipes stuck onto me, I notice a little wooden box sitting on the nightstand next to the bed. My mouth opens just slightly, while I silently watch the tiny yellow metal drum slowly rotate inside, the little bumps on its surface gradually moving in and out of sight. This music box, it's the one I gave... The creaking of the door breaks me out of my reverie, my head and heart remaining still as my eyes turn to see who comes through. Long tan skirt, peach off the shoulder sweater, pale, almost porcelain skin, blue clouded eyes, and long yellow hair. All I can do is stare as Lilly slowly walks into the room, her fingers lightly running over the wall for orientation, and my mind comes to a shuddering halt. Lilly? My mind stops mid-stride, her entire body tensing. Hizao? Was that you? Her voice is quiet and pensive, echoing her expression. I thought you were... Lilly takes one tentative step forward, then another, as if she were holding herself back. Her control over her composure is for naught, though, and she finally rushes over to me while I lay as the last of her resistance falls. I'm slightly taken aback when she grabs hold of me, hunching over as tears begin to fall from her cheeks, since only minutes ago, I thought she was on the other side of the world. After a moment of hesitation, I rest my right hand on her soft shoulder. Hizao! Hizao! Lily's body trembles as her tears blot the pale green sheets, her emotions flooding through her carefully maintained exterior. With her face now closer, and made easier to see for her pale skin being lit by the sunlight from the window, I notice her cheeks being redder than they should have. It's okay, Lilly. I'm okay. You don't need to... She rights herself quickly, her crying forcibly stifled with both sadness and stubbornness remaining in her moistened eyes, her prideful nature, always having been something to contend with, takes me off guard. Stop telling me not to worry about you, Hizao. Just this once, let me cry. I'm caught speechless. She waits for a response, but her composure breaks again after a handful of seconds. I swallow hard to try and settle my own emotions, while she weeps onto the bed, a strange mixture of relief and depression welling up. Lily's here. She's really here. If I couldn't feel her skin under my hand, I'd hardly believe my own eyes. My efforts weren't for nothing. My body's attempt to take away everything that was important to me had once again has been foiled. But now, I don't feel as happy about it as I thought I would. Seeing her crying like this over me, this is the one thing I wanted to avoid since coming to love her. No, even since leaving the hospital. I'm sorry, Lilly, it's my fault I'm here. I shouldn't have tried to push myself so far. I give a self-deprecating snort. After months of keeping myself together so nobody worry over me. I went and did something like this. I guess I'm pretty dumb. With a couple of sniffs and a long breath, Lily manages to pull herself together and calm down a little. Despite her red cheeks, moist eyes, and the lines of her tears still visible, she delicately wears that weak smile she seemed to so often give. You needn't blame yourself. I heard earlier that it happened to you as you were running down the road after me, right? Still? She wipes her eyes with the back of her hand, returning more to her old self as the rush of emotions wears off. Why did you run after me, Hisao? I'd moved to respond, but noticed her face tightening. Even after I'd said goodbye and I'd left Yamaku Academy. She takes a moment to steady herself, her emotions almost bubbling up once again. I just wanted to say that I'm sorry. Sorry? For the times I wasn't there when you needed me. Until now, I thought just being there would be enough. I only needed you by my side to make any day feel better. Even if my body may be like this, I want to help you, Lily. I want to be there when you need someone. But you were always there, Hisao. Why did you want to go to Scotland, Lily? Why, I told you before. Because Akira was going and because my family summons their home. Why didn't you say that you wanted to go? I'm not stubborn often, but this one time I think I need to be. I want you to stay here, Lily. I want you to stay where everyone you know lives, and where all your dreams and ambitions were made. If you choose to say I'll never leave your side, I won't let you choose another person. Lose another person. When I had my heart attack, I was snatched away from everyone and everywhere I knew. You showed me a new life after I came to Yamaku. I'd lost my past, but you showed me a future. It's true that I haven't always been there for you. I'm unreliable sometimes. I lied and I thought I'd come to understand you even when I hadn't understood myself. Be that as it may, I want to give you a future as well. I want to be there for you, to share both your burdens and your happiness, just like I promised back in Hokkaido. I want you to trust me. I know I had problems coming to put my trust in you after losing so many people I'd known after my heart attack, but that's how I know that being unable to trust others can feel awful. That's why I can't watch you just throw everything away like this. I never want you to go through what I did. I would do anything to stop it. You can be quite steadfast when you want to be, can't you? As I said, it isn't often. My weak smile drops, though as the IV in my arm digs in a little, it's a harsh reminder of my tether to my condition. Lily's face tenses as I let out a small gasp of pain, immediately making wish I stifled it better. All I can do is sigh in defeat. I tried not to let anyone worry over me over the entire time since I left the hospital, but I can't even stop the one person I love most from crying over me. Even if I might finally be able to put my feelings into words, I feel pretty useless with a body like this. Every time I tried to reach towards something, it was just snatched away, and even now things turned out for the better due to luck. I guess that's something else I should apologize for. All I can ever do is make you worry. Even now, there's very little chance I'll live anywhere near a full life. The feeling of Lily's warm, soft hand moving over my left cheek makes me lift my head up, her smile gentle and warm as she touches me. I think that's something very natural for you to say. You are always so sincere and self-conscious. You are also reserved and mild-mannered, and patient to a fault with Hanako, yet curious about everything and everyone. When I said I missed you while I was with my family, I wasn't lying or exaggerating. The thought of you was never far from my mind and helped me through that time. That's why I was so confused about what to do when my family summoned me. Even after I thought I had made my decision, you tried your hardest to challenge me about it. I didn't confess to you out of pity or believing you were somehow different from what you are. I confessed because I never want to lose you, and want you to always be a part of my life, no matter what might change. You are a beautiful person, Hisao. Your heart changes none of that, so please don't apologize for yourself anymore. After a long time, silence reigns in the room. I'm not really sure what this newly born feeling inside of me is, but it pales into insignificance as I wordlessly gaze at Lily's smiling face. warm and gentle as it always has been. It's only her thumb across my cheek, wiping away a single drop of moisture, that I realize this is all I've ever wanted. For what feels like the first time, I give an earnest wide smile. As Lily feels it against her palm, she returns the gesture. The more time passes before either of us says a word, neither of us needing speech to communicate our feelings to each other. You know, I can't promise you that I'll always be around, or that we'll be together forever. With some difficulty, I slowly lift my hand, placing it on her pale shoulder. But I think I can at least take you to next year's Tanabata festival to make up for making you miss this year's. Lily's expression is one of surprise, though. I can't say I blame her. You remembered that? I've got a pretty good memory, sometimes. She raises her head a little, and takes her hand from my cheek, giving a small amused giggle. I smile absent-mindedly at how earnest it is, almost girlish in its lightness. Still smiling warmly, she collects herself and stands upright with a hand resting on my chest. Feels like I'm seeing her for the first time, the sun from the window glowing behind her, just as it did when I first walked into that room while she was drinking tea. Very well, then. Shall I make it a promise between the both of us to go to next year's Tanabata festival together? Even if she can't see me doing so, I nod approvingly. I promise. I promise. Yep, yep. Can you see what I see? Reach Lily's good ending. So, that was Lily's route. The last route of the game. And there, unlike the other routes, there's actually a scene after the credits, if I remember correctly. And that's also why I wanted this route to be the last one. And alongside Emmy's route, this is the route I was most excited to do. Because, to tell you guys personally, I do think Lily and Hizao are the best couple for each other. The reason, it can be seen from this route, but I think they are the best for each other. And, yeah. Well, I still have the epilogue to cover, and any other potential things. 4-Leaf Studios. Thank you for making Katawa Shoujo. Yep. Akira, Lily, and I silently sit on the grassy embankment high above the local town, the breeze gently blowing through the cloudless sky. We may be just a few minutes walk from town. Yeah, so. Current scene forwards with gusto. I see this as the epilogue. We may just be a few minutes walk from town, on a hill just outside its limits, but the view is entirely unexpected. Lily sits beside me, her eyes closed as a gentle breeze flows through her hair. This is a nice area. Yeah, I never knew a place like this anywhere near Yamaku. And I had to be the one to find it, of course. Akira's grin is genuine, but her tone is slightly different from her usual carefree nature. It's good that you're out of the hospital, though, Hizao. Nobody's more glad than I am. I can't stand hospitals. So you two going back to the school tomorrow? Yep. Akira chuckles in amusement before looking back out to the town below, the trees between the buildings swaying in the wind. Pity we couldn't go up north for the summer holidays or get to Tanabata. I wouldn't worry. There's always next time. You'll be graduating before the next summer vacation, won't you? Yeah, there'll still be college after that, mind. Going to the same one? Likely. We both have high enough scores to meet the entry requirements. You sound so sure. Don't worry. You're better than I in most subjects. I guess we'll work it out in due time. That's the way. Just enjoy yourselves in Yamaku while you're there. Lily gives a sad sigh at the distinction made between Akira and the two of us. Do you really need to go back to Scotland? Yeah, the folks are already out for my blood as it is. You weren't meant to stay this long? Well, yeah, they were supposed to leave. Anyway, she gives her trademark wide grin. Setting my boyfriend up with a passport took some time. You're taking him with you? Just for a while at first. He's a surprisingly worldly guy. I think he'll do just fine. Akira gives a amused snort. If our father had his way, I'd been gone a long time ago. A long while ago. I just couldn't pass up an excuse to stay with my favorite little sister. A little while longer, though. She leans in right and gives Lilly a tight, playful hug, cheering her up considerably. It's nice to be with you one last time, though. For what it's worth, I'm in the same boat. Thanks, you two. I'll try and come back sometime, don't worry. It's a shame that the business keeps you so busy. The place won't run itself, I'm afraid, and I think it's going to be just the same over there. Considering that, I'd better get going. Have fun over there, Akira. Will do. With a slight grunt, she lifts herself with her hands and stands up, dusting herself off as she does so. Well, I'd better be off. The plane won't wait for me after all. She has a certain unusual wistfulness in the tone of her voice, her eyes firmly planted on her sister. I'll be okay, Akira. Yeah, I know. Come now, it isn't that bad. You'll be able to see us again soon. It is strange to have Lilly reassuring a doubting Akira for once. She really has changed. Goodbye, Akira. Bye. For a second, the dark-clad figure looks down at the both of us, smiling widely, perhaps more widely than I'd ever seen her do so before. She lets out a long, slightly wavering breath to steady herself before leaving, but eventually slips her hand in her pocket and turns on her heel. And with that, she walks away, one hand held in the air as she goes. See you later, you two. A jazz tune with no beat, melody, or direction to the very end. After a few moments of sitting silently, Lilly and I pick ourselves up and dust ourselves off. Turning towards her with a broad smile, I hold out my hand. Shall I be off then? She takes my hand in hers, with a gentle nod and a smile as beautiful and warm as ever. Indeed, we shall, Hazao. As we set off towards the school, that wonderful smile engraves itself onto my memory. That wonderful smile that we both share. Our pasts may have been scattered at times, overshadowed by sadness, but they're also an irrevocable part of our lives and personalities. Even if I could change a single thing, I wouldn't, because my past is what led me here. That's why, even with all that's happened to us before, all that may well befall us together, we'll keep walking forwards. Forwards. Towards the future. Our future. Alright. So, that, I think, is the end. Alright, let's see. Jukebox. Yep, all the music, I think I'm going to skip all the stuff we already got, but let's start with library. So, completion, 100%. So, for some reason, I did not get the achievement for 100% completion yet, but whatever. So, Lilly. Let's go down here. So, farewell, of course. This was the neutral ending, and then false cadence, maudlin sky, bright sky, forwards with gusto. Okay, gallery. Let's look at this. Alright. Yeah. Do I have to download the uncensored patch to get all that? Either way. So. Okay. Thanks for playing. Congratulations, 100% complete. You know, I could end it here. But I think I'm going to check something real quick. I'm gonna make sure I actually have all of the achievements. Okay. Alright, perfect. Alright, hold on. Let me look at my editing software real quick, and there you go. Okay. Yep, here's Katawa Shoujo, as you can see. Alright. Let's take a look at my Steam. The all achievements. So, as you can see, I got all these. Yippee! So, yep. Started on June 10th. Ended on July 24th. Alright, let me get back to this screen then. There you go. So, I'm gonna end it on this. I really do love this game. I think it's one of the best, probably the best dating sim ever made. Because there's so much good about it. Right? You know, isn't overly sexualized, isn't, you know, there's actual care and thought put into, like, the characters and, you know, the different things about it. I really like it. So, yeah. And, yeah. Yeah. So, this is the first long Let's Play that I've ever completed. And I'm gonna get into more into it probably in my next video. Like the video I'll record after this. Honestly, you guys will probably see that one before you see this one. But, in order to express my thoughts, right? In order to express my thoughts, I think I'm gonna have to have a full video on it. And, yeah, it's just... Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional. Right? I love this game. And... honestly, I don't think there's any other game like it. Right? It pulls at the heartstrings in such a way that it literally changed people. And I'm not joking about that. There's been multiple people I've seen, like, okay, I'm gonna play Katawa Shoujo, and then, like, the depression hits, and it's like, oh no. Like, like the YouTuber, like one of the YouTubers I get a lot of inspiration from, Voices from the Dark, when he played this game, right? One thing I remember is that he played Emmy's route, and then I think he went on, I forget what route he went on next, but he played that route, and you know, in one of the first episodes, that route, he felt like he was cheating on Emmy because Emmy was so well written. It's like, whoa. Yeah, so anyways, I'm gonna give my overall thoughts on the game. Like, I'm gonna give it a bit of time to resettle in my mind, but I think the next video I'm gonna record is my overall thoughts on Katawa Shoujo, and as well as, like, what game I'm gonna play next. And then, yeah. Well, anyway, if you're not interested in that, that's fine. But I have a few other games I want to play in the works. However, there's one game I'm going to play next. And the next playthrough I'm going to do is a blind playthrough. It's going to be a blind playthrough of Chaos Head Noah. Now, I don't know anything about that game. However, it is the start of the Science Adventure series. The Science Adventure series contains Steins Gate and several other interesting games that I do want to play. So, I'm going to be going through Chaos Head Noah blind, right? And seeing if I like that style of playthroughs better, or if I should just stick with games that I've already played before. So, it's been Dean the Artist. Thank you for watching. This is the finale of the Katawa Shoujo playthrough. Have a wonderful day.